He succeeds me as Duke of Cornwall and takes on the responsibilities for the Duchy of Cornwall, which I have undertaken for more than 5 decades. Sometimes even in royal families, promises don't go as planned for years. People believe that Prince William was next in line for a powerful new title. His father became king. My brother, this is something he's been waiting for. And he's probably spent more time thinking about it. But something unexpected may have just happened behind palace doors. There's talk that King Charles has refused to hand over what William was promised. Could this be the start of a deeper royal rift? And what does it mean for the future of the monarchy? We kind of knew what the rhythm of the year was, so things like that will change, and how we are part of the support for the monarchy may change slightly. Who knows? Join us as we uncover why Prince William is being left waiting, and what King Charles's decision really means. The hidden struggles of Prince William on the surface. Prince William looks like he's got it all under control. He walks into royal events with his shoulders back, his voice calm and his expressions steady. He greets the public with a firm handshake, a polite smile, and words carefully chosen. My father's first words on entering Westminster Abbey yesterday were a pledge of service in every corner of the UK, across the Commonwealth, and around the world. He has dedicated himself to serve others. Most people watching think he's fully at ease, like he was born to carry the weight of the crown, but that image hides something deeper. Losing his mother, Princess Diana, at just 15 years old, was not something any child is prepared for, but for William it happened in front of the entire world. He wasn't allowed to just mourn like a regular teenager. There were cameras, crowds, headlines when he walked behind Diana's coffin with his brother Harry. His face was completely still. People praised him for being brave, but few stopped to wonder what it had cost him to stay that still. That moment froze something inside him. From then on, he knew that showing too much emotion could be used against him. So he learned to bottle things up, and that habit didn't fade with time. As he grew older, the media didn't leave him alone. Every move he made was picked apart. If he smiled too little, he was cold. If he looked tired, they asked if something was wrong in his marriage. If he kept quiet, they said he was distant. Every decision was judged against an image of royalty. The press helped build, and it was always a moving target. Even as a student at St. Andrews, where he met Catherine, reporters tried to sneak into classrooms, stalked him on campus, and tracked him on vacations. The expectations placed on him were about becoming a symbol. A future king had to look stable, sound strong, and never shaken. He couldn't be too emotional, too open, and too ordinary. But William was a young man trying to figure out who he was, while being told who he had to be. The rules were strict. Smile when needed. Don't complain. Don't cry in public. Never show anger. And when mistakes happened, as they do in any young person's life, he couldn't just brush them off. Each one came with a headline, a photo, and an article judging his character. It's not that William never tries to speak about how hard things were in recent years. He's opened up a little more, especially around mental health. Really, we were happy to show him off to whoever wanted to see him. As any new parent knows, you're only too happy to show off your new child, and he's admitted that being an air ambulance pilot exposed him to emotional moments he had to carry home. But even then, his words are careful. It's as if he's still trying to balance being honest with not giving too much away. A big part of that comes from the culture he was raised in the royal family. Stoicism was taught early. The idea was that duty comes before self, and feelings are to be handled privately. Crying was for the background, not the public stage. And William, being the eldest son of the future king, had to learn those lessons. Even harder. There was no room for emotional breakdowns. Even as a boy, he was being groomed for leadership, which meant not just carrying the crown one day, but carrying himself in a way that made the institution look unshaken. British society for years also rewarded that stiff upper lip. Boys were taught to hold in their emotions, to stay tough, and to never let cracks show. For William, those lessons were doubled, and now, even as an adult, that early training shows. He might talk about grief or stress in interviews, but it's always measured and never raw. Still, The struggle is there. Being a prince, especially one on the path to the throne, means always having to balance two lives that people see and the one he actually lives. His brother Prince Harry was one person who had once shared that burden with him in a way no one else could for years. The two were inseparable behind palace walls. They leaned on each other after their mother's death. They were each other's lifeline. They'd play, fight, laugh, and confide in each other in ways no outsider could ever understand. But that closeness didn't last over time. The closeness faded like something left out in the rain. It started with small differences. William as the heir had one set of responsibilities, and Harry as the spade another. They were raised under the same roof, but they were never quite treated the same over time. The differences grew into distance. Many years of lies being told about me and my family. There comes a point where again going back to the relationship between, certain member of the family. Still, William didn't stop caring. The pain of losing that brotherly connection stayed with him, but like most things in his life, he kept it quiet to the world. It looked like he was focused on duty and moving forward. But to those close to him, there were signs. When Harry and Meghan announced they were stepping back from royal duties, it shook something inside William. The move felt like his brother was walking away from him, and from the life they were supposed to face together. What made it even harder was the way it all played out. There were words exchanged that stung, especially when Harry spoke about feeling unsupported and pushed out. William had always believed that family business stayed within the family. So when their rift became a global talking point, it added a hurt that couldn't easily be explained or defended against. And yet William didn't rush to respond with counterclaims or heated statements. Instead, he kept to his usual approach, measured, calm, reserved, but that didn't mean he wasn't affected. Still, the distance remained for a time. The tension between them was almost impossible to hide. Even when they stood near each other, one could see they weren't standing with each other. The warmth they once shared had gone cold, and in its place stood two men shaped by different choices, different values, and different wounds. For William, that was emotional. He had always expected Harry to be part of the next chapter, to walk beside him, not behind him. And now that future had changed, and as we're about to reveal next, we must first see what and who William is protecting, to understand why William now feels betrayed by his father. The evolution of a prince. William has built a world with Catherine that gives him comfort. Even when everything outside feels uncertain, their relationship is solid. Catherine is more than a royal consort. She's his anchor through public storms and private heartaches. She stands beside him with quiet strength, never competing, never complaining in moments when duty drains him, or memories of his mother resurface. She gives him the space to breathe and the strength to keep going. Their children, George, Charlotte, and Louis, are at the heart of it all. William lights up around them. He laughs more, softens more, where the world expects him to wear the crown. They just expect him to be dad. In their smiles he sees a peaceful childhood, something he never got to hold on to himself, and he's determined to protect that. He's often said that he doesn't want his kids to grow up under the same shadows he did. He knows what it's like to have cameras pointed at you before you understand why they're there, to be told to smile. Your heart is breaking. So now he makes different choices. He wants his children to know love before duty, laughter before protocol, and home before palace. William isn't trying to rewrite the monarchy in one stroke, but within his family he's drawing a line. He refuses to pass down the pain he had to swallow. Instead, he's building something warmer, because the crown isn't worth much if it costs them that. Prince William has spent years preparing, absorbing, and observing the throne. He's seen the triumphs and mistakes of the generations before him, and knows that being next in line is about direction, not just inheritance. Every visit he makes, every meeting he attends, and every document he reads at Kensington Palace or Windsor is part of a larger learning process. From his years in the RAF Search and Rescue Force to his time with the East Anglian Air Ambulance, William stepped away from palace walls and into real-world jobs that most royals would never touch. He saw death, trauma, and ordinary families break under pressure. That experience grounded him and taught him what service actually means. But the man helping to rescue him, well, it was the future King of England.
Prince William, as you know, everybody is a rescue helicopter pilot. Once he flew that man to the hospital, William stayed with him in the emergency room for 40 minutes. He sat in private rooms with prime ministers, military chiefs, global leaders, and local volunteers.
He's walked through shelters, community centers, mental health clinics, and even the rougher corners of towns like Burnley and Sunderland, where respect has to be earned behind the scenes at events like the Earthshot Prize. William has spent late nights reading briefs and asking tough questions. But as he watches his father, King Charles, take the throne in his 70s, with decades of views behind him, William knows the world they're ruling isn't the same one it was even 10 years ago. Climate change, racial tension, and shifting values around the monarchy itself are all part of the new reality. And William isn't trying to replicate what came before. For example, Prince William was once fully in support of a slimmed-down monarchy. The idea strongly pushed by his father, King Charles. The plan was to reduce the number of working royals, cut unnecessary costs, and present a more modern, efficient image of the royal family. At the time, William echoed his father's thinking, especially during the period when public criticism over royal spending was growing. But now, as circumstances change and pressure mounts around him, he's reportedly reassessing that entire approach. He's starting to see that too much reduction might weaken the institution's presence, especially as responsibilities grow and public expectations remain high. He's also shown signs of this through small but meaningful choices. Unlike past royals who stayed distant from politics, William has spoken boldly on environmental issues, showing he's not afraid to take a stance. He's also championed causes around homelessness, youth, mental health, and social inclusion. And when Catherine launched her Early Years Initiative in 2021, he backed her fully in public strategy meetings and planning sessions behind the scenes. William knows it's no longer enough to be a symbol. He's seen how fast public support can change, so rather than simply waiting for the crown to land on his head, he's shaping what it will mean when it does. But even with all that preparation, nothing could fully steady William for what stood before him at Westminster Abbey, a place he knew well. He'd walked down that aisle for happier times, most memorably on his wedding day in 2011. But this was different. The coronation of King Charles III wasn't just a moment for the new monarch. For Prince William, it meant a shift in roles, responsibilities, and something more. During the ceremony, in front of over 2,000 guests, foreign dignitaries, and millions watching from home, Prince William stepped forward to kneel before his father. He pledged his loyalty as the future of the crown. Then, in a moment that surprised even the most seasoned royal watchers, he leaned in and kissed his father on the cheek. That small gesture was warm, spontaneous, and spoke volumes for a family often criticized for being emotionally distant. It was rare. William, who rarely displays public affection, even with his own children, let the world in for just a second, and emotion in Charles's face showed that this was personal. What made it even more significant was that William was made the Prince of Wales, the ceremonial title once held by Charles himself, Colonel of the Welsh Guards, and more notably the position of Great Master of the Order of the Bath. In that moment, King Charles was handing over a portion of trust, of authority, of legacy. It also carried the message that Charles was beginning to let go. For years he had waited for his own moment, standing in the shadow of Queen Elizabeth II till he was well into his 70s. Now he was recognizing the urgency of time, and that William's era was not far off. But behind the pageantry, the golden robes, the fanfare, and the ancient rituals, there were tensions, unspoken. Charles and William have not always agreed on how things should be done. Charles favors traditional forms and ceremonial presence. William prefers leaner operations, modern messaging, more direct public engagement. And so while the father handed something over in form, the son received it with his own quiet resolve to carry it differently. Even their body language that day told part of the story. William followed the cues, did what was expected, but there was something restrained in his movements. He didn't lean into the spotlight. Instead, he stayed focused, calm, almost somber. Those close to the family said later that he was moved,
but also aware that this was about what's next. He was no longer simply the Duke of Cambridge, or the Prince of Wales. From that moment he was the heir and waiting in a way that felt tangible. He knew that the next time such a ceremony happened, he'd be the one crowned, and in that knowledge was pressure. But also clarity, because this ceremony was about Prince William stepping closer. But what really was Kate Middleton's role in all of these? Catherine's influence on Prince William as Prince William takes on more responsibility and wrestles with the emotional weight left behind by his family's legacy. Catherine Constant stands beside him as an anchor in a world that still hasn't made room for vulnerability. Without her, his path might have already crumbled beneath him. Catherine's strength comes from knowing when to step forward and when to step back. When the pressure is highest, she becomes calm. When William can't show pain, she becomes the one who carries it with him without words or fuss. Her support is seen in the way she stands just behind him, never overpowering yet always present. An example is their appearance at the 2023 BAFTA Awards. William, attending as president of the organization, was subdued, almost distracted. But Catherine turned heads with her confidence. She wore a reworked Alexander McQueen gown, an outfit she had already worn years before. That was a subtle and powerful message. In a world obsessed with novelty, she was repeating, reusing, and representing stability, sustainability, and resistance. It's that same mindset she brings into her family life. She has chosen very deliberately to raise her children with privacy and care, stepping away from many traditional royal parenting styles at Adelaide Cottage, the family's home in Windsor. They've built a different world for George, Charlotte, and Louis, far from the palace corridors filled with staff and ceremony. Their home is less formal, more human. School runs, sports events, regular park visits, all handled by Catherine. And when she chose to step back from royal engagements in early 2024, following her abdominal surgery, the public finally saw the boundaries she rarely shows. Even before the news of her cancer diagnosis was made public, she had already made a choice to place her health and her children above appearances. That was a kind of strength many in the royal family never learned how to wield. Sources close to the family said Catherine insisted on shielding her children from speculation during those months of silence. Even when public pressure mounted, social media buzzed with theories, she didn't waver. She protected their space, and when she finally did speak, revealing her diagnosis in a simple and heartfelt video message, it was filmed in Windsor, where she was seated on a bench in daylight. The setting reflected who she had always been, present, natural and strong, without pretending behind the scenes. It said, Catherine is William's most trusted advisor when royal aides come and go, and public opinion shifts with the tide. It's Catherine who remains steady. She understands the institution, but she also understands the person within the She's the one who reminds him who he is when the system tries to turn him into someone else. And she does it all without raising her voice or demanding credit. In a family often defined by drama or distance, Catherine has rewritten what power looks like. She's doing so by pulling her family close, protecting what matters: love, health, and the hope that her children won't grow up under the same shadows that haunted their father. Prince William's path has been slow, steady, sometimes painful. However, there is no doubt that it has always been deliberate, and as the weight of the crown slowly inched closer to his shoulders, what stands out is the way he's learned to carry grief, duty, and expectation with a kind of grace that's rare in public life. Unlike some royals who sought to control their narrative through controversy or withdrawal, William has stayed. He stayed within the system that shaped him, even when that system chipped away at who he was. And over time he started to shape it. William has become the kind of leader who listens more than he speaks. He's learned that real influence doesn't come from commanding attention, but from earning respect. Whether he's meeting with veterans at Headley Court, visiting rough sleeping shelters in Leeds, or championing mental health initiatives, through Heads Together he stays for the real work. He listens. He learns. He makes people feel seen. This wasn't always his natural instinct. He grew up in a palace where silence was safety, where emotion could be turned against you, and where the walls remembered every mistake. But as he grew into his own role, he realized that the next era of monarchy can't survive on ceremony alone. It has to feel real, and that means showing more of who you are, even when it's hard. Catherine has helped him become the kind of leader Her grounded presence, her understanding of the world outside the palace gates, and her fierce protection of their children have all created a home that feels real. In the middle of royalty by prioritizing mental health, refusing to overexpose their children and stepping back when need, she has brought emotional honesty into a place that once feared it. And now as William steps deeper into his future role, the changes are visible. In 2023 he wore the ceremonial robes of the Order of the Garter at Windsor Castle. These were robes his father and grandfather once wore, but there was something different about him. There was a softness in his eyes, an awareness that he was thinking about how to carry it forward without letting it crush the man beneath the symbols, even within royal circles. Aides and insiders have started to notice the shift. William isn't pushing for a radical overhaul of the monarchy, but he is reforming how it feels. More informal walkabouts, more direct communication, and less of the stiff upper lip. These translate to more space for humanity beyond a fairy tale or a perfect redemption arc. This was a man who's had to live under a microscope his entire life, choosing not to break or run, but to build. William doesn't need a throne to prove who he is. Every small choice he makes speaks louder than any crown. The next chapter of the monarchy will be about William rethinking what those titles mean. He walks now not just with the weight of tradition, but with the hope that his children won't inherit the same wounds he did. And though the road ahead is still uncertain, he's walking it with calm clarity and the emotional honesty his ancestors didn't always have. He wears the robes of duty, but underneath them beats the heart of a man who understands that strength comes not from appearance but from authenticity. What do you think about the way Prince William is shaping the future of the monarchy? Do you believe he's doing things differently from his father in a good way? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. We'd love to hear your take at this royal shift. Remember to like, share, and subscribe for more. Also, click the
following video shown on your screen. You will enjoy it. Like and subscribe to our channel for more stories. Thanks you. Leave your comment below.